Newsfirst, Newsline.
Hello there and a very good evening. This is Newsline and I am Zulfick Farzan stepping in for Faraj Shaukatali. And this evening our guest is Mr. Kesaralal Gunasekara, a councillor from the Dehiwala Mount Lavinia Municipal Council. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So it's really a good day today for Sri Lanka because the Gem and Jewellery Authority of Sri Lanka announced that they found a massive star sapphire weighing at 510 kilograms, and it's been named the Serendipity Sapphire, which has attracted global attention. Now, while we have that attention, more attention in Sri Lanka is being drawn to the vaccination drive. Now, today, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa announced that he believes that everyone over the age of 30 could be vaccinated by the end of August. Mr. Gunasekara, let me start off by asking you, do you think we can achieve this target of vaccination?
Well, at the current pace, yes, it is possible, but as to whether we could do it by August end, I doubt it very much, because you have so many issues involved in this whole process. But we have gone a long way, and we must give credit to the government for carrying out this vaccination drive successfully. Of course, it had its problems at the beginning, but then somehow they managed to clear all those things and move forward.
Right. Now, speaking of the vaccination drive, now we've seen there are different type of vaccines that are coming in, being tested globally and being approved by the WHO and Sri Lanka's NMRA. And there are people who are kind of skeptical about these vaccines. Some say, look, I have a preferred vaccine, so I'm going to wait until, I get that, or that vaccine comes to Sri Lanka. We cannot say that by that time there'll be a surge or a decrease in these COVID-19 cases. So given a situation like that, like as a councillor, as a person who's representing the people of Dehiwala and Mount Lavinia, what message would you tell these people?
Well, fundamentally we need to inform people that they need to get vaccinated, but then the educated keeps on asking this question as to which vaccine is better. You can't blame them, because you ask anybody that question, they would always say, okay, it's far more better to see as to which vaccine is better and then take it. But as far as we are concerned, we have got the maximum, the larger quantity that we have got is Sinopharm.
Yes.
So we have to go ahead with the Sinopharm, and that is being carried out all over the country as at now. And we feel that we have come a long way. I think roughly about 25 to 30% the people are being vaccinated.
Right. Now, speaking of your own locality, Dehiwala and Mount Lavinia, now clearly there have been challenges in administering the vaccine. What kind of challenges have you faced as a person's representative or people's representative for that area?
Well, the question is this: at the inception, you had so many issues coming up where people were clamoring to get the vaccine, and they were standing in queues of which ran to several kilometers. But then subsequently they realized that if the vaccines are coming on a regular basis, there is no necessity to get into a queue, and therefore you follow the path that is being enunciated by the health official. It's a health officials which did this job. It's not the council per se, and they have done it quite admirably, I should say, and they are continuing to do this program. In fact, today, yesterday, tomorrow also the vaccination program is continuing. So I feel that it's on good track.
Right. Now, staying on that same topic, now the vaccination drive is ongoing. Now we see daily we get press releases saying 200 plus vaccination centers are in operation, but at the same time there are people who still are laid back, who still do not want to get that vaccine. Now, some may argue that the people are skeptical about the vaccines, but some may assume that we are okay. Especially there are opinions being shared by people who have already got the vaccine, who believe the vaccine is okay, but that too, that ideology is also a danger, isn't it?
Yes, the question is this: we need to understand that people who have got the vaccine also need to come out and say, look here, please do go ahead and get the vaccine because I have got it. That is essential. And the government also needs to bring people on television programs, etc., and tell people, look here, go ahead and take the vaccine, take the jab. That's very essential. if that is carried out, of course, in any country you'll have certain sector, very minute percentage of people who are against the vaccine. I mean, that is to be expected.
Now, switching gears from the vaccination drive to something else that has caught the attention of the whole of Sri Lanka is that education. Now, children have not gone to school for almost a year. There was a break where children were allowed to come to school, but then again, surge in COVID-19 cases forced children back to their homes, confined to their homes and learning online. But not every child has the luxury of learning online. Now, we see reports coming in where children are learning, using their mobile phones that their parents use, climbing on trees, rocks, towers, etc. So in this backdrop, the teachers and principals have launched a massive strike action. Now, it's been on for 2 weeks. For 2 whole weeks, children have been cut out. No education, no activities going on. Is this justifiable?
No, the question is very simple. It's a very difficult question to answer, because I am a person who believes the teachers are an asset to this country, to any country. So therefore, I do not wish to speak against teachers. We are in this state because of teachers.
Exactly. Now,
we need to understand that.
Their demands are justifiable.
Yeah.
Like, especially
and we have to understand that it is not the government that started this program where they introduce various forms of through telecommunication processes. Teaching was introduced by. It was by them, not the government. So in that backdrop, to accuse teachers and pull them up for various things was I felt a little bit not called for. And in that context, they reacted.
Exactly.
That is natural. Any government has to understand that they must manage issues, not confront issues. If you confront issues, you are in trouble. And that is exactly what has happened to this government. So they confront issues. If you confront issues, you are in trouble. Yeah, I mean, teachers, why do you call them names and say various things? I mean, what for? What are you going to achieve? I mean, we are in this position because of teachers,
Exactly.
not anybody else. It's about teachers. So you make a wrong move, you are in trouble. And I feel that right from the word go, we did not come forward with a plan as to how our education could proceed in the backdrop of COVID. I mean, schools were closed, fair enough, we had to protect the people. But then somebody had to come out with a program as to how we can continue our education process. So, I mean, thanks to the teachers, they did something. But as far as the government is concerned, the agencies are concerned, the government agencies, I don't know, I don't think they succeeded in introducing anything. So this is where we stand, but we need to understand that education is prima facie, it's very important. And we need to introduce as to whether e-learning on the long run is advisable. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. But we're faced with a COVID scenario. Maybe for a short period of time you have to. Then in that case, get your drawing books and boards and see as to how you're going to do it. You have to cover everybody. Not only the schools in Colombo or the Western Province. Everybody must be covered.
Indeed.
That is very essential. It's a very big, huge task. But do that. But then, without concentrating on that, you just take on the teachers, which is totally uncalled for. Totally uncalled for.
And speaking on that same line now, one of the main demands that the teachers have is, remove our salary anomalies. Now, I spoke to Joseph Stalin this afternoon for one of my reports, and he told me that it's been a perennial issue for years, since 1997. That's what he said. Since 1997, they have been saying, look, make us a part of the public administrative service, a part of a public service, rather than seeing us as a separate issue. So this issue has been going till 1997. So clearly, somewhere something has gone wrong.
You're right. I feel what has happened is, over a long period of time, we have been taking sectors and try to solve their problems. You cannot do that, because if you try to solve one sector, somebody else is going to get affected. If you try to solve that sector, then somebody else is another sector is going to get affected. So it's an overall issue that has to be studied and dealt with. And if you pick various sectors and try to give solutions, which we have done over a long period of time, maybe 30, 40 years, you are asking for trouble. Very simple. And to add to that, Mr. Stalin, in fairness to him, I must say, he has always been a leader who was not in anybody's camp. Not anybody's camp. He did his job properly. And the manner in which the treatment that was meted out to him and his people who carried out that campaign, I felt was a big mistake. They shouldn't have done that. So there was no necessity to do that.
So before we go into a commercial break, I'd like to pose this question to you. To solve this issue, what would be the correct approach? What should the government do?
We're getting to an agreement with parties. Don't confront issues. Confrontational basis is not going to solve anything. Manage issues. You have to have discussions with everybody and maybe get people to come out with solutions. It's not going to be that easy. If you try to solve one issue, another issue comes up somewhere else. Overall, try to see how you can work it out. That's the only way. But I still feel that treating people with dignity is much more important than everything else. That is where we have failed. We don't treat people with dignity. We're very sad to say that. I mean, we look down on people, we run down people, which is all wrong. Which is all wrong. That is why we are having so many issues and problems, etc. So that is the way out. Try to manage. Management is the only way out. If you confront, you are in serious trouble.
That's very true. Now, to keep our viewers a bit updated on what's going on, is that now the teachers and principals have been on strike for almost 16 days.
Yeah.
Now, their demands are basically, allocate 6% of GDP, one of the most important points in our country, GDP, 6% of GDP for education, and also ensure that all students, given the COVID-19 situation, all students have facilities to engage in e-learning, not those in the cities and the suburbs, but all students, because according to what Mr. Joseph Stalin, the General Secretary of the Ceylon Teacher Services Union, said, only 40% of Sri Lanka's student population have facilities for e-learning. The rest of the 60%, they're just at home and waiting to come to school and learn. And with that, we go in for a short commercial break.
Newsfirst, Newsline.
Hello there and welcome back to Newsline with me, Zulfick Farzan, and this evening we are discussing various topics in the current Sri Lankan sphere with Mr. Kesaralal Gunasekara, Councillor for the Hewala and Mount Lavinia. Now, we were talking about the teachers and principals strike action, where children also are facing multiple issues with e-learning. Now, moving on from that issue, let's come on to the political sphere, the political arena in Sri Lanka. Now, one of the key issues right now in the political sphere is the SLFP and the SLPP. Now, there are rumors going around saying there's going to be a split. Some are denying that, some are saying yes, that might happen. What's your take on that?
Well, to be fair, I feel at the last Central Committee meeting, a majority of them expressed the view that we should move away. But the chairman, that is the ex-president, cautioned everybody against haste, and he said, no, this is not a time. We'll have to think, we'll have to have discussions, etc., and try to iron out differences, etc. And it is in that backdrop that the meeting with the president also took place. So I feel it's a process. You'll have to engage in dialogue and then move forward. That's the way forward, I feel. But if at the lowest level we are being targeted, in that case it's a mistake by the SLPP.
So
Very simple.
Mr. Gunasekara, now, given that if there is a split between the SLFP and the SLPP, now we've heard the views being said that the SLFP is no longer a major player in this coalition government or in the Sri Lankan political arena. Now, if there is a split, how will the SLFP?
You said SLFP is not a major player.
No, the SLPP, people from the SLPP are constantly saying, you know, the SLFP is not a major player. So, given that, you know, those comments being made, now, if there is a split in this government between the SLFP and the SLPP, how will the SLFP regroup itself?
The question is as to whether there would be a split in the near future. I don't think so. Because certain factions of the party feel that we should iron out differences and move forward, which I feel is correct. And therefore I don't envisage a split taking place in the near future. But SLPP also needs to understand that you should not underestimate the SLFP. SLFP is a very, very strong party. It may have lost its members in the last elections, but that doesn't mean that it can't regroup. No, it can recoup. So they should not underestimate the SLFP.
On the same
If I were better to have better relations with the SLFP, I feel.
So speaking on the same lines, is there any truth to these rumors that are going around that some of those who defected from the SLFP or left the SLFP to join the major party in the government, is there any truth of them coming back?
No, I don't know. I have not heard anything of that nature. I'm not aware. I'm not privy to that discussions. If there were discussions, I don't know, but I'm not privy to that. It's not correct for me to comment on anything which I do not know.
And also, given Sri Lanka's political atmosphere right now, we have COVID-19 that's actually taking a toll in our country. Has the government taken the exact or the proper approach in tackling COVID-19 since the beginning?
Well, I feel it's a sort of a delayed operation, but then at the beginning there were, I felt that we should have moved much more fast in getting the vaccines, etc. But now it has basically gotten onto the blocks, and I feel it's moving. But the economy is going to be crucial. Now, if anybody asked me this question, I would say, since independence, we have come almost 70 odd years, and see where we are today. And some argue the point that we were in a bubble in the past, and the present situation as far as the economy is the real economy of our country. Who's going to answer those questions?
Indeed.
Is it true that we were in a bubble? How is it that the central bank could not foresee a situation of this nature? What action did they take or did not take? These are questions that are being asked. But we need to understand that in order to move forward, we need to get together. You cannot move forward by sidelining various parties and groups, etc. We need to get together. We all need to come together to move forward. That's the only way. Because we, as far as I'm concerned, we have hit the doldrums as far as the economy is concerned, and we have to rise. Rising is not an easy exercise, and the more controls you bring on imports, more unemployment that would take place. So these are matters that we'll have to study. We'll have to sit back, discuss, come into agreements, come into discussions, and then look at what is the correct path to be taken. It's not an easy exercise. I feel getting into different camps and fighting is not going to be the answer. We have to get together and move forward and think of the country. Now it's not the SLPP or SLFP or UMP or SJB or the JVP. No, it has to be the country. Country is number one now. We have hit that situation. So unless everybody gets together, we are in trouble, I would say so.
It's an interesting point that you brought out, Mr. Kesaralal. That is Sri Lanka's economy. Now, just today, the cabinet announced, the cabinet spokesperson announced that, we made our debt repayment on time, the $1 billion. Now, there are concerns being raised, like, from where did this money come from? Are our reserves being depleted? So, what's your take?
No, the question is this: we need to understand that in order to settle our debts, if you are borrowing further, we are getting back into trouble. We have to evolve a system, renegotiate our loans, and evolve a system where you do not keep on borrowing at this rate. If you're going to borrow at this rate, we are in trouble. We are not going to see daylight at all. So we have to evolve a system. We have to go back, maybe go in for discussions as to how our debt portfolio can be
Restructured.
Yes, to be restructured, have discussions with our governments and parties or agencies, and then see whether how we can manage our economy, because borrowing is not going to be the answer. More borrowing means more trouble. If anybody thinks that you borrow today and try to pay off, it's not going to be a solution. Huh? I'm telling you straight away, it is not a solution. Restructure, IMF, World Bank, all those agencies must be approached, and then hammer out a solution as to how we can come out on the long run. It's not going to be an easy operation altogether, because don't forget the COVID is going to last for at least another 1.5 to 2 years. Our main income, which is from tourism, is going to be affected.
Now, tourism has taken, COVID has actually battered tourism in Sri Lanka. Now, in President's statement today, he also said, with the vaccination drive going on, hopefully by September tourism can revive. But there are skeptics. There are people who still question, tourism may revive, but what about the people engaged in tourism? What about their livelihoods?
Yeah, the question is this, I feel with this backdrop, it is very, very difficult to get people to visit countries. It's not going to be that easy. Of course, you will have a percentage of people visiting countries, but that will be a low percentage. We will not be seeing millions and millions of people visiting our country. That is a mistake. So if you harp and think that we are going to improve, no. So have a follow-up plan as to, okay, if it doesn't happen, what is going to be our next program of action? That is what we should be thinking of, not anything else, I feel.
I want to
revisit
our topic on COVID-19 and vaccinations.
Yeah.
Because there is this conception, like we spoke earlier, a person who takes the vaccine assumes that he is immune, that there's no way that he can spread the vaccine. I think that's completely wrong. Now, as a local councillor, as a person who's representing people from the Himalaya and Mount Lavinia, you might have come across some of these people as well. So what would you tell to these people? What would you say? Like, who are they putting at risk?
Listen, you take the vaccine, you still follow health protocols as you followed in the past. What are the health protocols you followed before you took the vaccine? Follow exactly that or even greater. That's very important. You have got a vaccine, fair enough, that's very good. But you follow your health protocols continuously, because you can be a carrier. That is the message. That's very important.
And before we wind up tonight's program, I wish to emphasize that, about our chairman, Mr. Raja Mahendan, who passed away on Sunday, that he will forever live in our hearts. And I believe, sir, you would like to add something to that as well.
Big loss to the country. A visionary leader. He built an empire. And if I may put it in short words, I don't think he received patronage of successive governments for a long time. But he continued unabated. He weathered all storm. Why? Because he had a vision, and he knew that what he was doing was correct. So he moved forward. I mean, just imagine you build an empire. It's not that easy. You have to be a visionary leader, icon. It's very simple. So it's a loss, and I feel that we have to learn something from his loss, you know. Whether he's Tamil, Muslim or Sinhala or whatever it is, we have to be united to take this country forward. Every time I see so many people attacking businessmen, they are the people who drive this economy forward. You take them on, you criticize them, you're not doing justice by them. And in the case of Mr. Rajamahendran, he has done so many things, good things, but nobody speaks about those things. You know, so many of my friends told me, very unusual, he said, look here, we have never seen this gentleman, because you don't see his photograph in newspapers, you don't see him on any of these channels. He has channels. That's the mark of a man. That's the mark of a man. He was behind everywhere, but then he carried out his vision. He was attacked on several occasions, which I felt was a big mistake. Big mistake. But that's it. But he weathered everything. He realized that his operation was different, and he continued. So I feel that we need to learn a lesson. We need to have businessmen of that caliber. We need to help them. We need to promote them, and to take this country forward. If we had done that in the past, the mistake we make, all politicians make this fundamental mistake. If anybody opposes you, he's your enemy. Where do you get that idea? If I say something, you oppose me, do I fall out with you? Do you become my enemy? No. You have a right for that opinion. That is where all governments have been failing. Syriza is not doing his job, you know, they're not helping the government, etc. It's all rubbish. I think they did the correct thing. If the government went astray, put them on track. And the government must be grateful to Syriza for doing that, because they actually pointed out, look here, this is wrong. Try to correct yourself. That is what is essential. Okay. And they did that. So in that context, I feel that he was the man behind this entire media operation. He did his job wonderfully. And it's a loss. We lost him at the wrong time, I feel. I mean, I'm sure he would have continued at least for another 10 years.
Indeed.
But that's life. Impermanence of life.
And with that, we are at the wrap of our program for this evening. Thank you very much, Mr. Kesaralal Gunasekara, for joining us this evening. And thank you for joining Newsline with me, Zulfick Farzan. And it's now Primetime News on TV1.